Welcome, dear listeners. Here we are, another Tuesday, another study of the Spiritist magazine. Today, we will be studying one of the issues of the Spiritist magazine, specific message in issue 60 of the magazine, titled Excuses, by the Spirit, Emmanuel, through the mediumship of Francisco Cândido Xavier. What a blessing to be with you every week, where we bring to light many of these topics, many of them first time in English for you and I to study and learn. We use very low-tech opportunities. So I'm going to show you the screenshot of the magazine. I have the magazine open somewhere in here. Of course, we are recording this live. May take a little bit of time. But if you visit spiritistmagazine.org, which is the website of the Spiritist magazine, you will be able to download all of the issues free of charge, as well as the app for the Spiritist magazine, when you can read all of the issues on the go, wherever you are, any time of the day or night. Of course, you can also download the app of Kardec Radio, or you can listen to Kardec Radio 24/7. Today, the wisdom of Emmanuel brings to us this beautiful article. I'm going to share my screen if you're watching this, which is how the PDF version of the magazine shows up on my computer. On the left-hand side, you have the thumbnails of the magazine. This is the cover of the magazine for that specific issue, which was published in January 2023. The teachings of the Spiritist magazine are timeless. So every time you read a content of one of the Spiritist contents, you rest assured they're timeless for you and I. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the magazine, on page 38 is the article we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to hide the sidebar so that we can look at the article. And this is from the book Words of Life Eternal by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. The title of the article is Excuses. The first thing you see is a Bible quote. And this is from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 14, verses 18. Quote, but they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, quote, I have bought a field that I must go and see. Please excuse me, unquote. So friends, what are we making excuses about? Today we're going to be talking about how are we using our time? What are choices we're making in order to make this world a better place through? How do we make the world a better place? We make the world a better place by improving ourselves each and every day. Every day that we read something new that is uplifting, that we do the good, we slowly climb the ladder of evolution towards being a superior spirit. And today we learn with Emmanuel. I like to make it as large as we can and only allow for part of the message to show so we can go paragraph by paragraph. And the wisdom of Emmanuel today is on excuses. So he says, excuses have always been the escape door for those who abandon their obligations. So dear friends, what are your obligations? Where did God put you on this earth? What are your natural talents and abilities? What are you bringing to this lifetime? And what are we supposed to be doing over time to fulfill what? Our reincarnatory plan. Those are our obligations here. He says, our brothers and sisters who have had the misfortune of slipping into delinquency usually justify themselves with vigorous power of persuasion, but this does not exonerate their conscience from the needed rescue. So the brothers and sisters in humanity, that may have slipped into delinquencies. That could be us. What's the delinquency, right? Which is when you don't fulfill the law, when you misstep from doing the good, you're being delinquent on your debts, you're being delinquent on your obligations, right? When you repay them, what we agreed upon. So each and every person on this earth, as we started talking about obligations, reincarnates after a careful process of planning, of commitments, of drawing our reincarnatory plans. Everyone, no exception. There's no randomness, there's no chance. It's all planned. So we come here, and of course, with the blessings of the forgetfulness of the past, we may not remember all the details, but the circumstances we find ourselves in, especially if they repeat themselves, the same type of people around us, the same job, the same boss, the same family members, might be teaching us, well, what do we come here to do? And I'm not talking about I came here to make X, have a big house like this, or travel to 15,000 countries. That's not what we're talking. We're talking about what are the spiritual qualities we came here to develop. So he says, sometimes when we slip into delinquency, we justify ourselves with the power of persuasion. We said, well, but yeah, I should be doing this, but I could be doing that, but this. We always have an excuse, right? But does not exonerate our conscience. So even though in the world it might bypass our conscience and people may not see it, we may be able to act a certain way, it always comes back to us because the divine laws are written in our conscience. And if we don't do what we came here to do, then our conscience might bring us a certain level of guilt and regret, right? What else does he say? He says, companions who ruin the body in vicious habits architect a wide system of excuses, trying to legitimize the unhappy attitude they adopt, impressing those who listen to them. However, they end up bearing in themselves the consequences of the responsibilities to which they attach themselves. So were these companions ruining their bodies in vicious habits? What are these vicious habits, friend? When we don't take care of the body in any way, when we don't sleep as much as we should, when we don't pay attention to our nutrition, especially these days when we consume any amount of alcohol, socially or not. We consume any amount of legal or illegal substances, unless they are medications, they are prescribed by a physician under treatment, because everything in nature is a chemical. We're talking about what? We have to be honest, right? What are these habits? Alcohol, cigarettes, vaping, marijuana, any drugs that alter your psychic mind and abilities. We're talking about gambling, pornography. We're talking about video gaming, addictions of all sorts. Even if society thinks it's okay to engage in those behaviors, we're still engaging in the ruin of the physical body. Let me give you an example. Our friend, Dr. Andre Luiz, in the book No Solar, describes how he was an indirect suicide. And how did he come to be an indirect suicide? He ruined his body in vicious habits. But those habits were allowed as a man of society of a certain level of wealth in a certain period of time. Today, people still go to bars, to clubs. They, just because they legalize pot, they think it's okay, right? So Andre Luiz lets us know that those behaviors led to the diseases that afflicted their physical body and led to his discarnation, his early discarnation as an indirect suicide. Excuse me, but he had an excuse as well, right? He was allowed, he was a man. There was what it was acceptable by people. And today we accept different things. Of course, we live and let live. People have free will of choosing. But when we choose rightly, our conscience doesn't come to remind us of what the obligations we did or were. And then we try to legitimize these unhappy attitudes of the habits, the vicious habits, which include our addictions to our phones, to content that is not elevated, to spending time on things that are not important, instead of working on developing our spiritual abilities. And he says, now he's going to bring it to us. Even now, when the Spiritist doctrine revives the gospel, encouraging humanity to build good on earth, excuses appear in droves, disguising desertions. So we're being encouraged by knowing all the Spiritist doctrine to build the good on the earth. So which excuses are we using not to build the good, friends? These 2 weeks have been more of a harsher tone, like what people call tough love. But the spirit mentors are reminding us that we are undergoing full planetary transition. And with our free will, we can decide to spend our time in the good or not in the good. There's no neutral in the middle. There's good and there's not good. Go read first chapter, part 3 of the Spirit's book. Then, if we are asked to build the good on earth, which good are we building on the earth? Billions of spirits wake up every day with many different trials and expiations to undergo. Other billions are suffering. Some are doing, all they do is cater to their physical senses through the various vices we talked about. Parties of multitudes where people lose their moral ability to make decisions, alcohol, drugs, and less obvious but yet still pernicious ways of living, gossiping, killing people's reputation, not seeing the good, so on and so forth, not doing what we came here to do. So which excuses you and I are using? The planetary transition is happening. It's today our opportunity to build the good, while around us evil might be taking over. What is evil? It's ignorance of the laws. It's rejection of Christ's consciousness. So we are being called this week to observe, to watch, and to pray. And by doing the good, we build this circle of protection. Because every time you do the good, the superior spirits see it, and they help us when we need the support not to falter and go into evil ourselves. And he says, he will remind us the excuses within the Spiritist doctrine. I'm still very young. When I graduate college, I'll go to the Spiritist Center. I'm too old. I've retired. I don't have enough strength. I'm just going to sit on my porch in a rocking chair and rot away until death occurs. If we leave it for tomorrow because we want to fulfill the obligations of society with activities, experiences, under the pretext of persuasion, oh, it's for my family, I'm building my family, I'm giving my kids opportunity. There's nothing more precious in this world than give children the spiritual education that they need. If you and I have received that education, perhaps we'll be even further in our education, right? Our spiritual evolution on the earth. I'm engaged in great commitments, so I can't attend this one. This is the one that I personally, as the president of a Spiritist Center, hear the most. I will do other things. I have this festival to go to, this trip to go to, but I don't have the time to dedicate to the study so that I can be a practitioner. I don't want to give up my social drinking. I don't want to give up my social engagements to be a practitioner, right? I'm engaged in something else, but not in the Spiritist of revival of the gospel. My tribulations are enormous. Oh, my life is so hard. And we always have this internal dispute with others. When someone says something bad, we have to top it with something worse, right? My life is so hard. Family obligations are growing because we allow it swimming. When you are the fish in the sea, you don't know you are in the water. But when you are engaged in a community that everybody's doing the same thing, we end up doing the same thing. We don't swim against the tide. And today, in this day and age, Christ is calling us to go and follow him by renouncing the things of the world in order to help him. That includes making time to go to the spiritual practices. Maybe you don't have a spiritist center. Maybe you start one. Maybe you go to the church, synagogue, or Buddhist temple, or the mosque, whatever your religious affiliation on the earth is today. And then we say, we all go, this is part of our values. We're not torturing anybody. We're not forcing anybody. It's part of our values as a family that we gather every so often, once a week, which is the minimum we do these days. And we say, we go, rain, shine, ice or sleet or snow, like the postal service, right? We go. And if we have young ones under our care, we bring them with us so that they can learn, even if there's not specific activities for them, because we teach them, we do things that are hard every day. So if we can't be once a week doing something that is not pleasant or so dedicated to us, then we learn in the future when hard things come our way, we can endure them. Business doesn't allow me any spiritual activity, right? I have to work. I can't come to the studies. I can't volunteer because I'm working. I have committed myself to debts that afflict me. So I still think there are other things that I should be doing versus doing the Spiritist work that is the revival of the gospel. Children take time. Problems are many. This is us. At some point in your life, you probably uttered one of these words in order not to partake in your obligations. Friend, if your reincarnatory plan has brought you to these teachings today, if you know of Kardec Radio, if you know of Kardecpedia, go read all the books of Kardec free of charge. If you have a Spiritist center in your area, and if you don't, please start a gospel at home study at a library at your living room, and then the Spirits will guide you towards a group. If God granted you this blessing of the Spiritist doctrine in this lifetime, we better get along and press on. What would it be? How would we arrive on the other side? Which excuse will we give to the superior spirits when they come rescue us? Oh, I was busy, I have family. But then we might reincarnate in a different orb, in a different globe, or on the planet Earth without the Spiritist doctrine next time. That is actually a message from the book Among Brothers of Other Lands. It's called A Parable Retold. It's the parable of the talents retold by a Jewish rabbi. And that message is already translated into English, and you can purchase it. I believe you can purchase it from, if not from the United States Spiritist Federation, from the FEB publisher, FEP publisher. FE publisher, that would be at fepublisher.com. So we want to be the ones who say, no, I did the work. I swam against the grain. I left the needs of the physical body and society behind to pursue the spiritual goals. God put me in a place for a reason, and I shall not walk away from my obligations. There are so many evasions, and so vehemently they appear that the most astute listeners, end up convinced that they are in front of great sufferers or frankly incapable individuals, even beginning to support them in their escape. So he says, yes, go stay with your family, go do things, experiences, give your children. At the end, nobody is going to go to the spiritual realm and be like, look, my Harvard diploma, my Ivy League, whatever. Oh, look at how many times I traveled. Look at my passport. What good did I do in the world? Because a lot of traveling today doesn't do any good to the world, but rest is allowed and encouraged based on the law of labor. Then we want to think about, am I resting so much that I don't have time to help others wherever I go? Right? We don't want to help people. We don't want to be enabling them. Those invited to the harvest of light, that's you, dear friends. You are invited to the harvest of light. If you're here today, you've been invited. Jesus invites us every day to the harvest of light. However, enticed by themselves, awakened to the truth at the opportune moment, and tied to the ruinous consequences of their own frivolity, find no other restorative measure than wait for other reincarnations. And that's what happens when we don't fulfill our obligations. So let's meditate together. We have a reincarnatory plan. You're called, you're invited to the harvest of light. We're so focused on cherry blossoms in DC in a few weeks. Oh, the harvest of these, and I'll go pick up apples here and then pumpkins elsewhere. The harvest is of light. Then, if we are allowed to be in this planet in a physical body, we are reincarnated with our reincarnatory plan. We observe, what are my tendencies, who is around me, what's my circle of influence, which talents do I have, which profession do I follow, where am I in the grand scheme of things, and how can I, over time, do the best that I can to be a participating member of the harvest of light. But in order to harvest light, we have to sow goodness. If we sow physical sensations, experiences, and this and the other, we're not going to harvest light because we are being selfish. And you're not being selfish because you're here to learn from Emmanuel. Remember, these are the words of Emmanuel. I'm bringing it under the inspiration of the good spirits. We are bringing it into examples that bring us to our daily lives. We are undergoing these planetary transitions. We want to bring sow goodness, sow the seeds of goodness everywhere we go. And how do we do that? By doing the good, by not talking bad about others, by seeing the good in others, by visualizing the good, and by molding the good wherever we go. This is from the book For in Life, chapter 10 by Emmanuel as well. So we press on. We have tribulation, we still do it. We are tired, we still do the good. We need to rest, we still do the good. Because sowing the good is what's going to give us that beautiful harvest of light that Jesus is sowing each and every day in our lives by accepting us into the cohort of earthly humanity, incarnated at the moment. Tomorrow, we don't know if we're going to be on that side or on this side listening to these teachings. And bonus before us. Next time we think of all that we have to go through on a daily basis, we connect with the good spirits. We pray that they are there with us. They pray there with others we love. We pray that they're everyone we don't yet love, we dislike. We use the word dislike. And then they are there, personal trainers of the soul, not asking for any fee. And we can train the muscles of goodness, sowing the goodness wherever we go. So may we sow the goodness, and may we reduce our excuses in order to engage in doing the good, to be the true attendees of this harvest of light with our Master Jesus. Remember, you can visit Spiritist Magazine.org, where there's a contact form. You can write to the editor at spiritistmagazine@gmail.com. And dear friends, may God grant us another opportunity to meet in a week every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.